Hey guys, welcome to CG Cowboy. I'm Dale Forbes. Now I'm working on a game called Angels Cove. You may have heard me talking about it before. And the Angels Cove is a story-based 3D horror adventure game where a story unfolds. So it should be released on Steam this fall of 2021, and I hope you'll keep an eye out for it. In the meantime, I wanted to share a quick tip where I had a problem that I had to solve. Now I use a combination of assets, either that I create or that I get purchase or download from other sources. And sometimes I have to play some games with these assets. So I wanted to show you guys how I got around a situation where somebody faked translucency, translucence? Yeah, okay. Within a material. Now in this particular room I've got a light switch on the wall, and that light switch controls these two lamps. Now this lamp over here has a translucent shader on the lampshade, so not a problem, right? Let me turn this off. So if I turn the lights, the point lights, in this case I've got a point light in each lamp, and then I've got an extra point light outside of each lamp to help with some more ambient lighting. So if I turn the lights off over there with that shade, no big deal. Just turn the point lights on and off, and that translucent shader works with the lampshade the way it should. Now if I do the same thing over here, it's not going to work, right? Because this shade is not using a shader that uses a translucent shader. This is actually using the standard shader. So how do I fake that as I turn the light switch on and off? Well, that's what I want to show you. If I take a look at this lampshade, then I look at the material, it uses a standard shader, and it has this emission keyword enabled. If I turn that off, then it basically emulates turning that lampshade off, right? So then that would make more sense if I can control this emission shader, or I should say this emission keyword within the shader, as I turn those point lights on and off. So I'm going to start with the very short answer to this, and then I'll go back and show you how I spent a little bit more time and how I set this light switch up with those shades. Now the very short answer is, let me get to my script, and it is I have to access the keyword itself, and I'm using the functions enable keyword and disable keyword. Now you'll notice this is hard-coded. I had to know which keywords to access. It isn't something that it's going to auto-complete with IntelliSense after the material. So how did I know which keywords to access for emission? Well, if I go back to the shader itself or the material, and I click the gear icon and select Edit Shader, take a look at the keywords right here. There's a ... If I open that up, there's a whole list of keywords that I can access with this shader, and there's the underscore emission there. So by turning that on and off, or I should say enabling and disabling, then I can control that lamp with this guy right here in code. That's the short answer. If you're just if you're just interested in knowing how to access that emission, because it's not very intuitive by trying to find it within the code. So I'll go back for a second and show you how I dealt with this light switch, where I had to play games with one lamp, but I didn't have to play those same games and control the emissions with the other lamp. So with this light switch, I had a trigger here that I'm accessing. I won't get into my interaction manager, where I'm constantly looking for objects that I'm interacting throughout the game. But in this case, I created a script called turn on and off, and I'm passing it an array. And that array is basically all of those point lights, right? So I said I have a point light in each lamp, so that's 2, and then I have a point light outside of each lamp controlling ambient lighting, and that's all the point lights here. Yes, I know my naming convention is absolutely horrible. So if I take a look at that, then I start with the main flipping on and off. So this is basically setting the state, the active state of those objects, to the opposite of what it was, right? If it was on, it's turning it off. If it's off, it's turning it on. And then I go and check the material itself. Now, if it's on, let me sit back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a class, right, or a component called flicker material, flicker matte. Now this is, forget the name for a moment, but the only thing that I'm doing is I'm using a class for identifying the objects that need to have this special process done to it. And you'll see in there, if I go to it, then the only thing that's in there is passing a material to it. So let's go back and you can see what I'm talking about. So in this lampshade here, I know I have to play games with this. So I have the flicker matte script and I just pass this material to it. So this is basically saying, hey, this particular object, I have to go ahead and play this game. So I'm looking for whether it has that material, that class in it, and here's the material that I need to go find that emission keyword for. So if I go back to that, you'll see that's all that's in there. I did need to inherit from mono behavior because I'm attaching it to an object, a game object. So you have to have that mono behavior for attaching it to a game object. So if I find that flicker material or that flicker matte component in there, then I know I've got to play that game, right? Which means I'm turning on this boolean, otherwise I'm not worrying about it. And so if it has that boolean, then I know I need to go through and say enable or disable a keyword. I know this is for readability. There are a whole bunch of ways I could have optimized this, but hopefully the way I've got it set out here is a lot more readable. So with that, I flip the light switch. In this case, I go after the point lights here. So as I'm turning on and off the point lights, I'm checking the parent. The parent has the flicker matte, and so with that, it knows to turn on and off the shade. Now with this guy over here, grab it. Why is it not? There you go. All right. Now with that guy, I do not have the flicker matte there. So here's the lamp. As I'm turning on and off the point lights, it's looking for that flicker matte in the parent. It's not there. So it knows that I don't have to mess with the emission in the material. So now as you can see, I go into this room and turn on the light, turns on that emission shader in the material, turns it off again when I turn the light off. So guys, hopefully this was helpful. As I can think of more tips to share with you guys, I'm going to go ahead and continue posting those. If there's something specific that you'd like to hear about, maybe a problem that I had to solve, or maybe a problem you're trying to solve, please leave it in the comments, and hopefully I can help you out. Cheers.